how's it going? My name is Cassie, and today we're going to talk about Adobe Audition. We are using Adobe Audition to make podcasting. We're going to go over some of the basics. We're going to go over where the different features are that you will be using to help you make those podcasts. So let's begin by opening up Adobe Audition. All San Diego State University students will have access to Adobe Audition, and it's a pretty cool platform. So let's kind of start by orienting ourselves in the screen. From the file menu, you'll see a lot of the basics. You'll have new, open, you can extract from a CD, save, import, export, all this fun stuff. So new, from here when you go over, you can either do a multi-track session, which is what we will use when we start recording podcasts and mixing them. We can do a new audio file. This is very handy if you want to record within Adobe Audition. It'll just open up a single audio file. And it also has a CD layout, which doesn't apply to our podcast, but you can use it for other things. You can also open up previously recorded files. You can open up recently opened files. You can extract audio from a CD. So there's a lot of different ways to get your audio into this platform. We also have your import, again, if you want to be importing files, and we have export. Export is great because when you finish a file or you finish a mix down of a multi-track podcast, which is something we will go over, you want to save it within the Adobe Audition format, but I also recommend exporting it in multiple other formats. You can export it as a MP3, you can export as a WAV, an MP4, whatever you need, so that way you have multiple backups of your file. This happened to me one time and one time only. I completed a great mix down. Something went wrong on my end, definitely user error, and I didn't have multiple exported backups. So please make sure that you do that. So when we go over to the edit button, this is where we can start getting into a little bit more of the editing tools. So as we go down, you can see you can undo or redo, Control Z, Control Shift Z, pretty standard commands. You can see some basic tools here. You can move things, you can razor them, you can do a time selection. These tools here are also available at the top when you have an audio file in there. So you can also click them here. We have a ripple delete, which allows you to go through and delete silences or other things from your audio track. We have a selection where you can select. You can insert into a multi-track section. So if you have a single audio track they want to insert into a multi-track session, you can do that here. You can set up markers, which we will use to kind of keep track of places that we need to edit or splice. And then we also have preferences. This is very, very important. When you are plugging in or changing your audio preferences for how you record, how you listen, mics, all those things, you're going to need to go through here and make sure that it is working. So to change your mic and double check that, you go to audio hardware and it'll open up what you're using. So right now I am using a SteelSeries mic and headset. So that is right here. I want to hear it through here, so it's the output, and make sure everything matches. So we are all good. Sometimes you will see discrepancy here if you unplugged and then plugged back in a mic. So you want to make sure that's always agreeing. Otherwise, you will get very frustrated as to why your recordings are not working. So from there, we go over to the multi-track. This again will be used when we're going through and mixing and layering multiple tracks within a podcast. So here you can add different types of tracks, mix down session to a new file. This is where you take your multi-track. Let's say we have your voice, an intro and outro, maybe a music bed and sound effects. Once we get it all mixed together, this will mix it down into a single audio track. And that's where you would go over to File, Export, and save it as multiple MP3, MP4 WAV files. You can also insert a metronome, which is handy if you need that for mixing music or keeping on beat, whatever you need. We have clip. You can do fade in, fade out. You can trim here. You can go through different groups, remixing. You can stretch things. This is a little bit more advanced, but these options are here for you to explore. The effects in the favorite window, I use this quite a bit when making a basic podcast. You can go through here and highlight a track that you want to add different effects to. You can generate noises and speeches and tones from Adobe Audition. It has different self-automated vocals or noises and different tones that you can insert into your tracks. You can match the loudness if you want to set a loudness for it to match to. We can also get into amplifying or compressing, which can kind of help with the vocal quality. And we have other info here. We can delay and echo. You can do an equalizer. There's noise reduction or restoration. So take some time, if you have it, to record a vocal track and just see what these different effects do. It can do some really, really cool stuff. Favorites are kind of like the quick sheet of the different effects. So you can do an auto heal of a small section, less than 4 seconds of audio track. You can convert to mono, you can convert it to stereo. You can do a fade in or fade out. You can do a hard limit where it doesn't go above or below a negative 0.1 decibel. You can lower the pitch. You can normalize it to either a -3 or a -0.1, so that way the track's a little bit easier to manipulate. You can raise the pitch. You can do a telephone voice. If there's a voiceover, you can compress it. A lot of really different cool things here. You can also record a favorite. So if you find a series of edits that you particularly like and you find yourself using a lot, you can record yourself doing that and then set it as a favorite. So rather than going through perhaps the 3 steps it would take to do that effect in that edit, you can just create it as a one-click favorite here, which is pretty cool. We also have view, so you can see a multi-track editor or a waveform editor, and we can zoom in, we can have a time display, all that stuff, all the different views you might need will be in here, and you can adjust those as you need them. Finally, we have window. Window is pretty cool because it adjusts what you see within this entire screen. So the basic windows that open up when you open Adobe Audition are really, really handy, and I haven't had to adjust too much here. But let's say, for example, we want to look at getting rid of some mic feed, some background noise that is kind of corrupting your vocal track. Then we would open up amplitude statistics. So that's going to open it up in another window right here. So where before it was just files and favorites, now we've opened up the amplitude statistics window here. So now I would be able to go through and find out the statistics of a certain amount of tracks, so that way I can manipulate it accordingly. And this can change here. So let's say we want to add in a mixer. So now in this main window, we have the editor, we have the essential sound window, we have Adobe Audition, which is handy. They have their own built-in tutorials. And we also have the mixer. I recommend opening up the mixer. That's very handy, especially when working with multi-tracks. And then finally, we have the help. So if you have any issues, you can go to Adobe Audition Help, or you can keep going on the tutorials, YouTube. There's lots of different things out there to help you navigate this. All right, so those are the basic commands up here that you want to familiar yourself with and the different menu options. So kind of looking around at the main window here. Here we can import files. So just like we can import files here, we can import them here as well. So let's say, for example, I want to open up a most recently mixed episode that I just did. I went through, I opened it up here, I navigated it on my computer, and now it will open up in the editor. So this is an example of a multi-track podcast that I mixed down. So now it is just showing up as one single track, which is pretty cool. We also have a favorites here, so you can do favorites as a drop-down menu, or you can do a click favorites window here, whichever is more convenient to you. Going lower, we have the media browser, so you can go through and browse for more media within your computer, or you can change that if you have like an external hard drive, however it might be getting music in there. We have an effects rack. This effects rack is really handy when you are doing multi-track mix downs and editing of podcasts because it allows you to select a track and apply an effect just to that one track within that multi-track editing window. So let me go ahead and show you that. Let me open up some more. Let me go ahead and open up some more stuff here. So I'll go ahead and open up my intro. Let's see what else. Let's go ahead and open up the outro. There we go. So now if I go to multi-track tracks, let's see, oh, multi-track view right here. So let's say experiment. So now I have a multi-track window. So let's say I want to put in my intro and my outro. And you can change the names here. So let's say we want to do this intro and just outro. There we go. So now I have my intro here. And when you double click it, it will open it up so you can edit just that one track. If you click back to your multi-track, it'll take you back to your multi-track. So there's my intro. Welcome to Well Actually, a podcast about things that I think I know, only to realize that, as I scrub along the timeline, we get to my outro. Well Actually was produced and mixed by... There we go. So we have two different single files, and I'm manipulating them in this multi-track setting. So let's say I want to add an additional effect here. So I just click on it so that way that one is selected, and I can go to this effects rack and apply different things. So this toggles it on and off, and this is where you can select different effects. So let's say I want to do a reverb. Let's do a full reverb and see what happens there. All right. There we go. And then let's say here, so see now notice that when I click from this track to this track, the effects rack changes because each track has its own rack of effects that's being applied. So if I want to click here, I'll toggle that on. And let's say I want to do, let's see another special, let's say I want to do a distortion. And let's do Knickerbocker. That sounds like fun. All right. So let's play it. Ooh, that does not sound great. But that's how you can apply different effects. And here,
to learn, my name is Cassie Tanks. I'm a nerd who's
totally different effect being applied.
Thanks for joining me today. Now,
so that's a way that you can really manipulate and fully customize your mix downs of when you're creating your podcasts. We also have markers. Markers are very handy for you to keep track of where different things are within your tracks. It'll automatically mark, but you can add additional ones. So let's say right here, I said a word that maybe isn't the best and I need to do a censor button over that. So I can just click that and I've added a marker right there. So now I know that I can come back and edit that, which is really, really cool. We have properties. This is where you can go through, look at the properties, basic settings. You can do remixes. We also have match loudness. So if you want to match loudness, you can drag those media files here and it will do that adjustment automatically. Now down below here, we have the history. So this is where you can kind of keep track of the manipulations that you've done. And what's nice is that if you click back, it will take you back to that edit, which is very, very handy. So you can go through and redo and undo as you need. All right, so those are the basic commands that we will be using as we go forward in creating our podcast.